The Legacy Omnibus Bill is a great bill. It provides funding for outdoor heritage, clean water, parks and trails, and arts and cultural heritage. We fund projects throughout the state of Minnesota, and it's geographically and politically balanced bill, and I will yield to Representative Lilly to discuss Article 1 at this time.
Call upon the member, Representative Lilly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Chair Gunther. I was honored enough to be put on the Lessard Sams by the Speaker and Speaker Dowd, and Denny McNamara was on it, former representative, and we served together and kind of went through a few proposals, as you can see. I'm not supposed to really hold up props, I guess, but you can see there's a few. We're in our 9th year of outdoor heritage funding, and we were to come up with a final product of about $103 million. And just to kind of give you an idea of the scope of, there was 44 requests that we had, and it kind of reminds me a little bit about the bonding committee, because there was over $317 million worth of requests that came before us, and we had to whittle that down to about $103 million. And there was about 12 to 15 meetings through the year. We've got a pretty strong staff that the state is blessed with. I don't know if you've had any opportunity to work with these folks, but Mark Johnson's the executive director, and Joe Pavelko, assistant director, and then Sandy Smith, of course. I always like to say doing the real work and getting it done behind the scene. But so we ended up with 33 projects that were in the Lessard package that the Citizens Council and the members, I mentioned Denny McNamara, and then and myself, and there's 2 senators that served on the Legacy Committee, and then the citizens. And it's a pretty neat group of people around the state that really go through this and each project and assess them. But there's about 72,000 acres of wildlife habitat throughout Minnesota that's going to be restored and enhanced. Over 100 miles of shoreline. Just think about that, around that's going to be restored, enhanced, and protected. And keep in mind that this money is matched by other funds as well. So there's about $68 million. So with this $100 million, there's about almost $70 million that's going to be matched and with that money. There's 18 different groups in the end that got money, 5 local government groups, and then 11 non-governmental units. So we put together a proposal, and then that came before the body, and then kind of gone through the committee process. And I would imagine you've gotten some letters. I asked one of them to, there's been some tweaks that have been done to the bill that kind of, as it came through, and there is some, I just need to mention a bit of a heartburn in the council with some of the changes, and we can maybe discuss those later. But I think overall the bill's a good bill, and I'd like to thank Chair Gunther for allowing me to work with him on this. And anyways, I'm hoping to see the process through, and then maybe in conference committee it might come back a little closer to the council proposals. But I'm not sure. Do I yield back to you, Chair, or to Chair Torkelson? I'm not. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to yield to Chair Torkelson. I believe he's with the clean water part of this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Call upon the member, Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Representative Gunther, and members. I'm presenting the Clean Water Fund portion of this bill. I'd like to just thank Brad Hagemeyer and Janelle Taylor for their help on the work on this bill, and of course, thanks to the chair and his fine staff also. They all did very good work. This portion of the bill does spend money over the biennium, so it's a significantly larger amount than the Lessard Sams, which is a one-year appropriation. The appropriation for clean water is $100,497,000 in the first year and $111,114,000 in the second year, covering a variety of projects. Most of this funding is funneled through our various state agencies, the Department of Agriculture, PFA, the Pollution Control Agency, Department of Natural Resources, and most goes through the Board of Water and Soil Resources. We have, as much as possible, respected the outline given to us by the Clean Water Council, on which I serve as a non-voting member. But in order to accommodate a significant amount of funding for our soil and water conservation districts, $22 million, there was a fair amount of changes needed to be made in order to accommodate that amount of funding in this bill. And I'll be happy to stand for questions as we get into the discussion on the bill. I'm going to yield the floor to Representative Lehman.
Call
Thank
upon
you.
Representative Lehman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative Torkelson. I'm going to present the portion on the arts and culture heritage, and that is split up among many agencies, one of which is the Board of Arts. And actually, the legislature has allocated most of the Arts and Culture Heritage Fund money to the Board of Arts. And that turns out to be about 47% or $56 million. And the money goes to the Board of Arts for Arts Access Initiative, arts education, art and cultural heritage, and then also to specific grants that are appropriated by the legislature. Some of the examples of these grants are $50,000 for statewide arts software, $500,000 for the Minnesota Friendship Garden Society for the China Garden in Palin Park, $750,000 for Dan Patch statues with the requirement that grant recipients must provide a funding match for at least 25% of the projects, $250,000 for a FANCA Arts grant program, and another example, $75,000 for a Hmong folk arts exhibit. And then we also had an allocation to the Department of Administration. And the Department of Administration simply acts as a fiscal agent for a number of other organizations. Legacy Committee allocated just over $20 million to the Department of Administration for various projects. These are directly appropriated by us, the legislature, and we use the Department of Admin as a pass-through. These appropriations fund projects throughout the whole state, from the Green Giant Museum in Blue Earth to the Como Zoo in St. Paul, to the Canoe Mobile program in the Boundary Waters. I was particularly excited to author and present funding for AMPERS. AMPERS is a collection of 18 radio stations around Minnesota that serve underserved populations in greater Minnesota. And it's not Minnesota Public Radio, it's independent community radio. And for instance, in my community of Grand Rapids, Minnesota, KAXC is a community radio station that operates with a slim staff, but primarily with community volunteers. Anyone can come on KAXC and talk about their issues, play their music, and it's true community building, I think, through the AMPERS program. And then finally, the Humanities Center operates many of their own programs, but they also oversee several other programs that are funded through them as pass-through. We allocated just a little over $5 million to the Humanities Center to fund programs and to use as a pass-through. So some of those were various children's museums around the state, one of which is in my own district again, so I have firsthand experience. It's the Children's Discovery Museum in Grand Rapids. And the museum is more than, these children's museums are more than simply go-to organizations. They actually reach out and with funding, oftentimes from Legacy, can provide transportation to bring school children into the museum with interactive exhibits and so on. And so the Legacy money oftentimes goes for those purposes. So with that, I would like now to, Mr. Speaker, yield to Representative Mary Murphy to cover the remaining arts and culture heritage funding.
I call upon the member from St. Louis, Representative Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative Lehman. And thank you, Representative Gunther. Thank you for following the guide that was drawn up in the 2009 and 10 legislative sessions. Thank you for following the excellent chairs that came before you. And thank you for telling the people of Minnesota that came to you for money for their dreams, that you had an open door, and that the funding that the committee has is in our trust for the guidelines that were established since the people of Minnesota voted in 2008 for the 3A's funding, for the outdoor heritage, for the clean water, for the parks and trails, and for arts and history and culture of Minnesota. And it's in the Constitution. So every action that you took, Representative Gunther, is to preserve our Constitution. And we're almost at the halfway line now, but we're not there yet. But people have heard that they can come and present their dreams and maybe get selected. And one of the ways, one of the outstanding ways was dividing the money up in various ways, as Representative Lehman already suggested, through the Arts Board. But the other way was through the Minnesota Historical Society that has kept our history since the very beginning of the territory, since the people first came, just to survive. There's many ways that the Historical Society has proven themselves. They have competitive grants. They have programs. And they extend all the way across the state in little tiny historical communities. And the big, huge historical center right down here is almost part of the Capitol complex. And the people of Minnesota have heard about the Historical Society, and they know that the money that's entrusted to the Historical Society to disperse to people of all ages in this state is going to be hard-earned and well spent. And this bill that this committee has designed has $12 million the first year and $14,750,000 the second year, for a total of $26,992 to fulfill Minnesotans' dreams of preserving art and culture throughout the state. It is a good thing. In this bill, we also my heart, my dreams. We hit every person that goes into a library at some time or another through the funding in this bill. $5,250,000 will be spent in the 12 regional library systems that are housed out of the Department of Education. But the 12 regional library systems work with the arts commissions across the state. And they develop programming in every part of the state where there's a library or a theater or a sidewalk during a summer celebration, to reach out and get programming, or to bring an author, or to bring an artist, or, as the Two Harbors Library had a couple years ago, to bring somebody up, an artist, or a person that was impersonating Maud Lovelace, to Two Harbors, and they had an afternoon tea, and there were 12 guests. But the little girls that came were dressed in the finery of the days, of the early days of this century. And the stories we had. And the tea was from a teacup. And it wasn't so great, but the sorbet that we had to accompany the tea was just what those little girls in white gloves dreamed of. Minnesota authors travel the state with the funding that they receive from their little portion from the library systems. And the libraries compete within their system for who's going to get what kind of programming, or who's got an idea. The Minnesota Opera came to Hermantown as part of their regional tour. And on Halloween one Saturday, 2 years ago, the opera played at the Duluth Arena, at the auditorium in Duluth, and the place was full for 4 hours. People that had worked with the schools and the Minnesota Opera came, and knew people that had never been able to see an opera before, or never thought they would want to go see an opera. But their kids had come in touch at the libraries, and their kids had come in touch with the idea of the opera through their music lessons when the opera people came to visit their schools, as part of the outreach of the Arts and Cultural Fund and the Library Fund. They were so happy. And there were people dressed as you think you should be dressed to go to the opera. And there were people in flannel and wool shirts and everything in between. But it didn't matter how they were dressed, because they were experiencing something together. And that's what the arts and cultural funding does. But I digress. We must go on. The Minnesota Zoo receives from this bill, about $3,625,000. And the Indians Affairs Council for immersion programs and for continuing to ensure that the language of the Dakota and Ojibwe will be passed down to the new generations before the elders have passed on, and we can learn everything we can from the elders to preserve the language. The Department of Agriculture receives $1 million for county fair activities, not the showcases that they've always do, but enhancing art at the county fair. Can you imagine being a young artist and painting a picture that gets a blue ribbon at the county fair, and then they encourage that person to take it to the state fair? Representative Torkelson brought this idea to us several years ago, and it's had so much success and renewed the hope of the county fair boards that they had to generate new ideas at their county fairs. And you know how important county fairs are to culture. It is so important. You know what happened, and I'm going to tell you the biggest secret that I should be embarrassed to tell the House of Representatives. But a lot of you don't know some things about my past. But it was at the county fair, on the Ferris wheel, that I received my first kiss. From a boy that I had met on the fairway. From Proctor, not even from Hermantown. I don't want to tell you any more. But it's part of the culture of America. How many of you have gone to the county fair and ridden a ride at the county fair after you've shown your horse or shown your chicken or shown your rabbit or done your 4-H project? How many of you have met a boy from across the way and maybe rode the merry-go-round or the Ferris wheel? I bet you did too. Anyway, this is a good bill, Representative Gunther, and I don't want to forget the $9,000 that we have to the Legislative Coordinating Committee to improve the website. But it's in there, and it's part of our culture. And think of the fair and the ties to the legacy bill when you go this summer, or when you show your jam, or you make a cookie, or bring your quilt. The fair is where it's all about. It's culture. I yield to Representative Gunther, Mr. Chair. Mr. Speaker.
The member for Martin, Representative Gunther.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Representative Murphy. I have the Parks and Trails part. The Parks and Trails are 40% Met Council, 40% Department of Natural Resources, and 20% rural. Don't think rural is getting shortchanged that much because many of the DNR parks are in greater Minnesota. This 40-40-20 proposition is being potentially changed next year. We had them together not too long ago, and they all seem rather happy with the way it's working. So I think that's probably the way it'll continue. But I'd also like to thank all the people that presented this bill. I think we had experts. We had somebody from Lessard Sam, somebody from the Clean Water Council, and someone that was a former chairman and my vice chair. And I think they did a wonderful job. But we had a great committee. Everybody contributed. And Representative Thiessen was concerned about the cultural diversity of our state and wanted to make sure they were included. And I want to let him know that we have the Chinese Gardens in Phelan Park. Representative Baker had Kajug, Fanka, and Representative Moran had Hmong Folk Art Exhibit, and she also had Rondo Commemorative Plaza. The Somali Museum was bought by Representative Omar, and Representative Clark, the Indian Affairs Council, had, as was mentioned, the Dakota and Ojibwe language programs. These are truly the legacy of not only the oldest people in Minnesota, but also the newest people. And I think this bill does a great deal of bringing all cultures and legacy together in Minnesota. And I'd like to this time thank Janelle Taylor, Brad Hagemeyer, Mary Mullen, John Waltz, Rebecca Mead, and Jeremy Winstead, and Callie Lehman for all the help they gave our committee and the help they did in guiding me my first time as a chairman of the Legacy Committee. So with that, we're here to answer any questions you have and to address the amendments.